said, my wonderful queens, it's time for us to start off with our next matchup here because we had like one tied game, two runaways, but now it's game three. G2 versus Rogue. Everybody was talking about super teams, right? What is
Yes.
this?
Well, I
Oh.
mean, the super team, the whole concept of the super team is that Europe is so stacked with talent, and a lot of these teams have been making changes over the last couple of months to bring in the top of the top in the talent, and we've ended up with a few teams that are just kind of like it's like you could squeeze them and just power drips from them. And G2 and Rogue are two of those teams. G2 obviously made a few changes a little bit ago, just after SI. They brought in Citizen and Virtue from Na'Vi and Fnatic respectively, whereas Rogue, they've recently made changes, bringing in Leon Gids, formerly of Team Secret, and Karjeka, formerly of Team Empire. So they've had some changes, and it's making them really good.
Let's focus on G2 for just a moment here. We have our roster and we can put it up on the screen for you to go through. We were just talking about a Geo, Pengu, Kanto Raketti, Uno, Citizen, and Virtue. Again, a very diverse set of individuals from, well, Europe, and you can call Citizen not Europe anymore, from UK, and Virtue from Australia. So
Ouch.
given that fact, yeah, I'm sorry, gotta say it, there has to be a burn somewhere with this. But G2 definitely have still a long way to go from the olden days of them dominating the scene. But it looks like this is their chance, their try at revamping their whole playstyle, Jess.
Look, I think having picked up Virtue from Australia, and I'm obviously a big fan being an Australian myself, but when we saw Virtue at Pro League Finals in Milan with Fnatic, he had such a brilliant showing. No one can deny that he was a huge impact player for Fnatic, and I think G2 took a lot of interest in him, and it's not a surprise that they flew him straight over to Berlin, and lucky they did in the time that they had, and now they've got such a really key fragger, and they said, well, now we've got a team of 5 Jaeger players. Well, not really, actually. A lot of these players have been practicing their flex, their support skills. You can see them focusing more on utility. They're not really the frag-heavy team that we once coined them as. So I think coming into EUL now, they've got a lot to prove. And not just that they're the 5 fraggers that we once sort of thought they would be. I think they've got a lot more up their sleeves than we're giving them credit for.
Well, you know what they say, if you can't beat them, buy them. So it works out in the end. Let's bring up Rogue, their roster, because honestly, they had two of the most amazing changes that I've ever seen. Unexpected. I had no idea this would happen. Leon Gids and Karjeka in here. After Team Secret's UK team disbanded, Leon was brought over to Rogue, and Karjeka from Team Empire. Nobody expected that. And alongside Rips, Aces, and Corey, this is yet another super team. These players that have had a lot of pedigree on their own, but kind of together, you're kind of creating this star-studded lineup again, Gio.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what people are talking about with Rogue right now, is historically this team, at least while they've been a European team, have done very well, ... online, right? They came first in the last season of Pro League, but they had a pretty tough time at SI. They went 0-2 in the group stages where they played with SSG, TSM, and Na'Vi. So it's a kind of a tough group, but even so, you would expect those results to really match that. But the fact that you have these 3 players in Rips, Aces, and Corey, who respectively have the best 1vx, the best KD ratio, and the best entry stats, and then you bring in these 2 completely revered players from 2 of these very, very well-respected teams. Together, you kind of mix that all up and you think, wow, this team should do well. The question is, have they synergized in time?
Let's take a look at our map bans here. We'll see where they're going to need to synergize in it, because the maps really have had a very big effect on the matches so far. And it looks like we're going to be on Villa for this matchup. There's a bit of a thing there, but don't worry about it. It is Villa in this case as our decider matchup. So yeah, Villa, we haven't seen Oregon yet today, which I hope it's going to be played at some point. But Villa, between these 2 Rogues, we've seen Aces be so strong on like Dokebi and Nook running around in Villa. Both teams have not been shy of playing these sorts of operators and sneaky tactics.
Goodness me, I hope that we see some more Nook here, especially on Aces. I mean, I love the fact that they brought in Leon Gids. I love that they've brought him inside the sort of the duo of Aces and Leon Gids, and we know that they can be very magical when they frag out together. So I'm surprised it was Villa. Actually, the reason why is that they've not had a lot of time to synergize, and Villa is a very tactical heavy map. So maybe they're just hoping that, they can push together whatever they've got thus far and be really forceful. This means they're going to have to push together quite heavy as a team. So coordination will play a key fact here.
Your predictions on this, Jess?
I'm going to throw it to Gio. I'm going to give Gio the entire stadium and pedestal here to make the prediction here for both of us.
Okay, this might be controversial, or it might be completely down the line. I'm gonna say G2-7-3. I think that Rogue will be their biggest contender. I think these will be the two teams that will end up at the top of this season, but I think Rogue, it's probably a bit too early for them to be at their very best, whereas I think G2 have had a bit more time.
Fair enough. What do people think at home? Very quick. Home predictions. It's on the way.
I think we're building up to it. Maybe it's like so shocking that we have no possible idea, and it's actually not shocking at all.
67% for G2, 26 to Rogue. Ocelot, you win again. So fair enough. You got it this time. Let's see. There's a big rivalry in other games, and indeed it is here in EU League and Rainbow Six. Let's go for our matchup. So please join me in welcoming Dev and Des for this one. Gentlemen, enjoy.
I'm sure we will, Milos. Thank you very much. I'm Des, joined by Dev Marta, and finally the sides of the globe have united together, and it's time to go for what is going to be, without a doubt, the match of the day. G2 versus Rogue. We've been excited about this one for a good few days now, Dev. I'm excited to see how it's going to shape up because, as we've said, you have got teams stacked to the hilt with talent here.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm a bit biased. I'm so keen to see Virtue, my fellow Aussie, jump straight onto G2, which I'll admit has been my favorite EU time as a loving Rainbow Six fan for a very long time. But on top of that, Rogue, I mean, they've been going so hard in the Pro League last season, managed to take it at the top. They've made a few roster changes, and maybe it's exactly what they need to finally become that world-class team that they've been striving after season.
Rogue are such an interesting one for me because looking at three of their original roster, we're looking at Corey, we're looking at Aces, we're looking at Rips. Each of them held a key accolade. I tweeted out about it the other day. KD coming through for Aces, 1vx is coming out for Rips, and on the other side, entry for Corey was the best in the division. So, lots of talent on here, backed up by Karjek and Leon. You know what? You're going for Virtue, you're backing your boy. I'll back mine. I'll be going with Leon on the UK side. They say casters shouldn't be biased. Well, that's out the window today, ladies and gents. So sorry about that.
We can be whatever we want, Des. You can go after your, Leon and Fresh as well, right? Fresh is Chaos.
No.
It's Arkuth, right? Arkuth. I knew there was a Brit. I got it bad. Look, I just want to preface this Villa with saying that this is actually a pretty exciting one because it's a rematch from the EOC, which Rogue won 7-4. So, I mean, on paper, Rogue should, in theory, be favored here. It's not been a common map for G2. But on the flip side of that, in the GSA, Rogue actually lost this just in their most recent match on the 18th, so not a week ago, to Secret, and that was a 7-2. So both of these teams got a lot to fight for here and definitely a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. Ban-wise coming out, it's looking almost identical to last time round these two teams played, which was in the EOC. 7-4 to Rogue, as you mentioned. Looking at this, the only thing that's come through as a bit of difference is Maestro is left open by G2. The Valkyrie is going to be banned away instead. Otherwise, it is exactly the same. Rogue target banning Monty, I think, there towards Pengu. Makes total sense in my mind. Let's get into the game, though, and see how things play out. It's going to be Rogue kicking things off on the defensive side. You would give them a lean on a map like this. We know how large Villa is and how much capacity it gives for players to be roaming, to be coming upstairs later into the round. A lot of it is going to come down to control on the side of G2, I think, and I'm not surprised at all to see Citizen going straight across to that Nomad.
You know, dare I speculate a little bit here, Des? So Echo's banned, right? Not being played tonight at all. Just banned across the board by the admins here at FaceIt. G2 switching up their ban to Valkyrie from previously Maestro, right? So Valkyrie and Echo overlap in that they're operators where information gathering is really hard to find, but really easy to destroy once you find it. You just shoot them, right? So they're both operators where you need to bring an IQ to counter them. So just by banning the Valkyrie, it completely eliminates the need for the IQ at completely from G2 and frees up an extra operator, whether that's the Nomad here, as you mentioned, whether it's the Kaibi. Honestly, this is kind of a weird comp from G2, I've got to say. You don't often see like a Jackal and a Kaibi, but hey, I love to see it.
No, let me give you some information on the way G2 are approaching this, right? Let's think some EU mindsets here. You know what I'm describing this as? I'm describing this as the Rogue isn't allowed to play Siege today. Everything on here just screams, you can't roam. There are air jabs. We're going to hunt you down with the ringing of the ears. If you sit still for too long, we're going to know fire the Jackal tracks. And then you've also got Kanto to go charging in on the Ash to go and gun that person down. It is very anti-fun if you're trying to play a roam-based playstyle here from Rogue. So I'm looking maybe towards the more aggressive members on side. I'm looking at Leon on that Jaeger. I'm wanting to keep a close eye on where he's positioning himself, how far away from his team he's roaming. And as you can see right now, he is pretty far away. If they can catch him out here and isolate him and pinch him nice and early on, that could be a real big loss to Rogue early on in the round.
Leon is one of those players that can be an atrocity if he is left to his own devices, but as you said, G2 have all the utility that they need to hunt down individual players. I mean, imagine Nomad, Jackal, Dekaibi all at the same time, and that's just horrendous, isn't it? But Leon looking to go back up downstairs and help out Corey at the top here. If there's anything I'm a bit wary of in G2's lineup, is a lack of explosives. It's just the 2 breaching rounds from the Ash to destroy castle barricades, or in this case, the Maestro cameras and the deployable shields. So really we're going to be looking at Kanto to use those effectively.
Yeah, they do have a lot of stuns and smokes on side, mind you, to burn through those magnets and the ADS from Leon, but let's not forget that is a lot of grenade destruction, so you're going to have to make those breaching rounds count. A nice bandit trick coming through there onto the study wall, but Leon's already got in and found himself too. What more do you need to see from such a capable fragger like this to shut down Kanto and Uno? And even though we can hear the ringing in our ears, as the players can, that Decade will be removed from the field.
This hole at top brown seems to be too good for G2 to overcome, but Virtue strikes true. Can't find a second. Corey once again behind the shield, eventually toppled there by Pengu, got the confidence to take up that push, but no soft destruction, no explosives left to destroy the Maestro. Eagle Eye at the end of the hallway. It's just on Pengu and Citizen, your UK brethren, to make this happen here against 3 players from Rogue.
We've still got 60 seconds left as well. This isn't even an end of round rush or anything like that. It's just descended into a bit of chaos in the mid round. As you say, still 5 left alive right here. G2 can take a breather, rescope, and imagine what these 2 players need to be doing together. Citizen has still got a drone in the back pocket and 1 on the field, I imagine, for a bit of flank watch. So they do still have the option to play with here and a bit of time to make use of it. But you're coming in here against 2 smoke canisters from Karjeka, who will be able to deal with you as you try and go. So mindful of that as this tries to get even lower. A bit of a blind run straight into the back corner here, and potentially a plant was about to come out from Pengu. And that smoke not going to touch him, just dead in the middle there, like shit passing in the night. Citizen finds one onto Rips. It's into a 2 versus 2 with 20 seconds left, and it's all down to Karjeka and Aces here. No doubt 2 of the most capable players you will see in Europe. Equally, the plant is going down from one of the most capable players in Pengu. Going to find himself. He stands up and sprays him down. Goes back down for the plant once more. Going to try and go behind the door. How on earth have G2 made this 2v3 work? This is why they are heralded as one of the best in Europe.
Unbelievable clutch from Citizen and Pengu, stepping it up. Man, you just don't see that every day, do ya? 2 versus 3. Rogue had everything going for them. Karjeka, all he needed to do was land the gas close enough for 1 whiff from Pengu, and he would have gone down so low on HP. But no, Karjeka decided to put those gas canisters a bit more central, a bit more of a predictable spot. Nice positioning from Pengu to just dance away from those and eventually take the fight when it was needed. But if G2 can win a round after a deficit like that, then there's no limit to what they can do.
Attackers need to locate.
Like Pengu was trying to climb the walls with how close he was sticking there. If the floor was lava, he was trying his very best to win it. And I understand why the smoke canisters were coming out where they were, right? There was some assumption he'd rushed in. They knew this because they saw him go across, didn't get killed in the process. Nice little grenade timing out there to make sure he couldn't be shot at the same time. But it was more they expected the plant to go down behind the table inside of Aviator that come back to fight them. And as you said, very, very nice side-by-side of the Smokings and managed to walk away pretty much uncontested. And when the contest did come through, it's Pengu who pulls his head up off the diffuser, finds himself a free kill, and straight back on it. Beautifully executed from the 2 boys on G2. Let's see now if we return back down to the site, how things might play out differently. Let's not forget that Leon found those 2 kills very early on at the start of last round, about 60 seconds in or so, and we thought it was night, curtains closed, it was lights out for the side of G2. But no, they managed to somehow dig deep and come back and bring it in. So let's see if they can do something a bit different here and maybe upset G2 a little bit easier. Speaking of which, G2 are changing up tack and looking to push him from the north side of the map instead.
I like this adaptation from G2 to go for that roam clear instead of brute forcing the top round stairs, because in my eyes, G2's team composition just does not favor clearing top round stairs. Yes, there's tons of stun grenades to clear out the magnets and the ADSs from Jaeger, but just only relying on the 2 breaching rounds from Ashe isn't enough. If you've got 1 deployable shield to destroy and 2 Evil Eyes, you only have 2 Ashe charges. You can't get rid of it all. So G2 looking to opt for pushing the other side of the map. They can roam clear quite effectively with the utility they're bringing to the table, particularly the Jackal, the Nomad, and the Dokaibi. Once they take control, likely I expect up through 90. I mean, honestly, G2's actually changing tack a little bit. They're going all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a majorly north approach coming to this one, right? It's the conventional take, I think you might say, where you might put someone inside a study to do a bit of contest from the south, but then send your team clone from the north, making sure that you're air jabbing red, you're air jabbing Astro stairs, so you've got no chance of someone like Leon looking to cause trouble a little bit later on. You saw an attempted C4 coming out of aces there, just narrowly missing on Pengu, so the hard breacher will remain for now. I guess the question on their side is if they're not pushing down towards the south side, what is their plan for these hard breaching rounds with the X-Kairos? Uno's going to open up onto Leon, so he will not be able to have that impact he did last time. Looking like it might be a pretty kill-light round for Rogue if things carry on the way they did last time.
Drop the bomb diffuser.
The Dokaibi Logic Bomb rings out. Uno looking for that roam clear. He found that one player, that impact fragger from Leon. I think that Corey actually moved the deployable shield to face 90. Really like that maneuver there. See, I don't know where the deployable shield is now, to be honest.
Has he got it in his back pocket still? It was in his back pocket, I think. No, it's not. Put it down.
No, not anymore. I don't know, color me confused, but hey. Rogue seemed to be trying to counter this 90 push. Oh yeah, no, it is actually in cluster. So perfect, yeah. He did move it to help counter that 90 push. But one of the things that G2 struggled with right here is the wall denial. Karzeka does find one, and the study wall is somewhat opened up. Virtue to find another, and now ascend potentially into the bomb site. G2 have changed tack and decided to go for a study push after all.
Yeah, they secured the north so they can have someone holding on here in case there is a later round roam coming through. Maybe he's trying to pinch onto Aces, who earlier on was downstairs. No way to manage to get him. Try and stick it, but Aces finds a double fantastic aggressive run there with a pistol nonetheless to find the kill. And Kanto trades one back. It's still a 1 versus 2. Rogue are in a spot where with 10 seconds left, all they have to do is hold on here. They will find the angle, and Rogue will take round number 2. I don't know what to say, James. This is going to be one hell of a map.
Absolute bloodbath. I really don't know what happened there. I mean, for a moment, it looked like G2 actually had a plan possibility on the cards, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, Ace ain't gonna let that happen.
Yeah. There's a fair question when, like, you just leave your planter behind the door by himself and no one else is covering the angle, right? Because someone standing there maybe on a study door looking in towards Aviator would have given enough cover to be able to catch Aces before he managed to charge his way through. I think they did try and go for that, but the one that was trying to cover got hit by a headshot from him straight away before he turned around and got the second onto Pengu. So it's like, well, what can you do when someone on the enemy team literally runs at you and takes down 2 players with a pistol? There isn't a whole lot you can do is the answer. And it was well played by him to take the initiative there and show us and remind us why he was the top fragger of last season. I think he was 3 or 4 kills ahead of Shaiko when it comes to the KD overall, or the net KD. So I think between him and the rest of the team, as we said a number of times, the accolades and experience they hold between them, it is very hard to write them off. That being said, though, I have heard from a couple of sources, I suppose I've had a good chat with 1 or 2 of them, they have said, you know, it's still a learning process. We are still a team that's still trying to gel. Although we had a relatively good run at the EOC, that was really our first week of playing together. So if we saw what they could do back then, and it was pretty successful overall, falling by the wayside to teams like Virtus Pro, who we saw play earlier on today, maybe shockingly not as well as we would have assumed from them. There is much more to come from this Rogue side, and I'm still kind of in the back of my mind thinking that on the side of G2, they just got more experience, they've got more about them than maybe Rogue have. But again, I think in this competition now, you just cannot afford to write any team off early.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
Rogue's definitely one to look out for. Leon and Karzeka both being highlight players from their previous rosters. I mean, Karzeka was not necessarily always at the top of the scoreboard for Empire, but definitely a notable player. Rogue do pivot now.
Mr. Consistent, I call him.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Look, I like that. And Rogue now going to pivot over to kitchen, dining, bomb site defense. And look, honestly, G2's team composition is likely going to favor this even more heavily. Just emphasizing that roam clear. As we know, Leon was shut down the previous round on that roam, but he switched over to the Oryx, and newest operator just allowed in the comp this season. Be interested to see how he can make his rotations, make the most of his Remar dash and the jumping up through hatches. Hopefully it's impactful. I'd love to see it.
I know a few teams have been quite hesitant to use him because the fact that you still inflict damage on yourself playing on this is not really pleasant. But I think in the case of Leon now that you're running around with an MP5, you're in a spot where your gun's actually really decent. You do have this ability to make quick rotations. You can actually be useful during the setup as long as you don't mind tanking a bit of HP. But you'll notice from Leon, he hasn't taken any damage, therefore hasn't been smashing down any walls. He's solely focused on being this roamer with the rapid rotation ability, making use of his, well, utility in that case.
Great usage of the pulse scanner here, the cardiac sensor from Corey, destroying that proximity alarm. Is Kanto looking to push in through China, potentially. Just checking Mod, and there's the kill onto Aces. Nice one there to tame these roamers. G2 looking to be in a prime position. Couldn't take out the default cam. Bit of a whoopsie, but it's all right. Now your cameras are mine, says Dakavi. Uses that tablet to hack into the defensive cameras. Rogue needs to be over their shoulder after that one. And G2 in the driver's seat here, but when will this execute come about? There's plenty of time to make it happen.
I like how they're playing this very controlled game so far. Very drone heavy, very much based around these intel operators. But Kanto's popping off in this round. Already got himself 3. Can he make it the final 2 to get the ace? But behind him, Tengu is going for the plant. It was Ace's last round working the magic. This time around, it's Kanto. No way! Ace. What more do you need to see from this man? From the first flick onto Ace's head in the opening duel, all the way through. That's how you drag a team through and say, Aces who, sorry?
Can I just say that we are absolutely in for a treat, Des. Like, we have been spoiled tonight with this match. I am ecstatic. This is just nuts. And G2 showing us a real good fight. I mean, like Kanto, he had 1 kill before that, and then he just is like, oh, see you guys later. I'm just going to go have fun at the top of the scoreboard. You guys hang out down there.
Didn't want to be outdone by Aces, essentially, is what I'm seeing there. I thought at the very start when we saw the 1v1 come through, I was like, the fact he's snapping ahead like that just shows it's an Aces, a Kanto kind of day. And although Aces did pretty well in the last round, well, he needs to be exceeded in the next round. So just back on an earlier point I made in that round, though, the operator lineup coming out of the side of G2 just screams to me that it is all about this control coming in against Rogue. It doesn't matter where they're sitting, they are going to be ringing them, they're going to be tracking them down with the Jackal, they'll have Kanto doing his own kind of hunting that doesn't require any kind of gadgets, and Citizen making sure that the journey behind them is nice and safe with those air jabs. It is very controlled and very restrictive against Rogue, who I think so far are not being able to make use of this aggressive roaming style that we like to see from operators like, well, from players like Aces and Leon, who we saw back in the first round, working a bit of magic with an opening double kill. It's going to take a while, I think, for Rogue to really fit into this sort of style. And although we only have 3 rounds to go of this first half until we switch over, it feels like it's gone by lightning fast. It's going to take a little bit more time. I think maybe this round goes the same way of Rogue and then, G2, and then maybe in the last couple of rounds, Rogue start to fight their way back in. But so far, this has been an excellent attacking half from G2.
I'm glad that Rogue has decided to rotate bomb sites, though, and head up to Stat and Trophy, because, to be honest, the way I'm looking at this right now is G2 is just doing so good at countering the roamers. So Rogue clearly want to play in that style. That's the kind of thing that we expect to see from players like Leon and Aces. They're just so exemplary at roaming. But when the entirety of G2 is structuring really their team comp with their play style around countering that, you can't rely on that. And the round that Rogue won was actually when they decided to sit tight on site. They used the Bandit to really deny a lot of walls. Good plant denial, and I mean, hey, that's kind of most of the work done for you. You force the attackers to funnel into the choke points. But if Rogue keep playing into D2's hands, you can see here, Leon's actually been spotted out on a well-placed drone from Uno. He's just flicking that one. He's likely to be punished here. I just don't see Rogue going to have much success here on this roam.
I like how they got the intent right. The C4 attempt is never bad, especially with an extra kill onto Pengu. Nice and free for them. Despite that intel being there, he can still manage to find a kill and get away unscathed. The big issue now for him, I think, is getting back to join his team. They have someone watching the flank here. They'll be able to catch him, but a second C4 comes in. Just as I spent a good 30 seconds speaking about all of these roamers, both of them come up big with massive C4 kills without even firing a single bullet.
Kanto, the player, makes such an impact last round. Shut down here. Virtue and Citizen looking to push on through Master Bedroom, flashing out the position of Leon, the player who was not punished, in fact. Uno in a tough spot. The air jab. Bring out! What's that? Hello, a little bit of a trade there from Citizen. Uno finds one as well. Suddenly this might be possible. Maybe I should take that back. Spoke too soon. It's all on Citizen. Make it a 1v2 now. 2 on in for the round. Make that a 1 versus 1. No way. This is Citizen's moment. Des, I'm going to let you take this one. He's the Brit. You're the Brit. What's he going to do?
It's him up against Aces here as well. We've seen Citizen go for such big clutches so many times over, stepping up close, not quite managing to land shots from either side, but now they've at least got the idea on where the other is. And Citizen, a little bit of smartness there as well, I thought. 45 seconds left on the drones, not really a bad shout for him. But Aces is just waiting for him to step into a site. You can almost see how they're like circling around the block at the same time together, never really quite crossing paths. It's like two ships passing each other in the night. But at some point, someone has got to land this crucial shot. With 30 seconds left, that time is starting to run low for the side of G2. It's going to be Citizen who's got to try and find this aggressive angle, but so far a little tentative in his steps. Doesn't want to get himself over-aggressive. Going to even try and go for a plant. It is the Cardinal sin in a 1 versus 1. Tries to go for the bait out. He sees Aces slip past, but not quite managing to land a shot just yet. How long can Aces bait that out for? Because now Citizen has got to stick this, or he's got to find a kill. The bait comes through. He's got to contest it. It's coming down to 1 versus 1. And Ben does it again. This man from the UK, hashtag UK massive, I'll take it.
Let that sit with you for a moment for G2. Des, you can't contain yourself, mate. G2.
Mate, what can I say? I love UK boys going big. What can I say?
Absolute masterclass here from G2. When a player needs to step up, they do just that. And that Citizen, for the second time, stepping up hugely. It was the 2 versus 3. Didn't need Pengu this time, though, to make it happen. And, man, I mean, I feel like every which round, there's another amazing performance from an individual on G2. You know, Kanto's had his ace, Pengu and Citizen have had their 2v3, and then Citizen just goes and does that. When is it going to stop? And Rogue, what are you going to do to make some kind of reply to that?
This is 2 rounds now where we have seen Rogue find 2 opening kills. In the first round, it was Leon finding 2, and they still went on to lose it. In that round just then, 2 opening C4 kills from Leon and Aces, who couldn't be controlled on the drone despite the setup coming out of G2. Citizen says, 2v2? Nah. Fancy me a 1 versus 4, and still manages to turn things around in favor. More like a 1v3, I think it was. But it sounds so much better when you paint it as 1 versus 4. Incredible stuff. And of course, we liked... I can't remember because there was too much going on at the end, and I was like, man, this is so exciting. Oh, either way.
Like it. Yeah, either way, it was bloody amazing. Hats off to the man. He's, and look, we're talking about the player who was a star. The golden jewel in the crown of Na'Vi, especially pivotal in their championship in Tokoname for the Pro League Season 10, and gets picked up by the most well-renowned team in Rainbow Six history, and then he gets spawn picked. Aces gets his revenge. See you later, Ben. You know, go and sit down. Don't get ahead of yourselves too early. I like that Aces, after losing that 1v1, he's got the confidence to just go and throw it back in his face. Yeah.
Well, both of them have in this case, right? I mean, he's playing on the C4 again. Maybe upstairs, not the most ideal place to be using a C4, but can, of course, throw it out window if he fancies his chances. Very aggressive here, and he goes, knowing full well there'll be someone on that window. Doesn't manage to find a kill, but equally isn't brought down himself. And now they've got a bit of a tag on what's going on with Aces. Try and go aggressive. C4 comes to the window! Doesn't step away in time, and it's going to be Aces with his second, and your boy in Virtue has gone down.
Aces has said, look, I don't like losing, so I'm just not gonna. Gonna make some big moves here and shut down some of your best players. And look, G2, it's the old core. Gonna have to make it work now. Kanto, we've seen him go big thus far with an ace. What have G2 got to show for it? Leon on this roam downstairs. Uno tempted to go for that hunt. Pushing up brown stairs now.
Getting himself droned in for a start there, but I think it just kind of became one of those where, well, we're being very careful about this. And Leon equally, although he loves to run around and, gun some fools down, if you really want. In this case, they are a fool, except this time it's gone the other way. It's Rips who's gone down nice and early on the Maestro. So this is technically a 4 versus 3. Rips should be able to get recover, mind you, as long as they're very wary of what's going on downstairs. But good from G2 to identify that Rogue have abandoned this downstairs road. Aces wasn't down there. Leon wasn't down there, as he's in study finding himself yet another kill in this round. Now, vertical play almost got them a result, but just not quite enough to pull this round back the way that they want. Now they've got to try and deal through all this utility that has been set up by the side of Rogue. 5 versus 2 with just 50 seconds left on the clock. We are seeing Rogue warming into things here, but we know what happens in some of these rounds. However, for Uno, I think a 1 versus 5 maybe just a little bit too much to ask. And sure enough, Michelle, Rogue takes the flawless round. And we keep on saying it, the back and forth nature of this game, it is so difficult to call how any single round is going to go. You can't even count on the first couple of kills to tell you how it's going to conclude.
Shows these teams playing tit for tat at the moment. Rogue say, well, look, you're going to come back from a deficit and we're going to assert our dominance with some early aggression. G2 didn't have anything to pull together. I was a bit confused by their strategy. They're kind of primarily going for that roam clear downstairs, but oh well. Rogue get nice back into the game here. And look, honestly, if we're looking at a 3-3 split, maybe this is possible for either team. Honestly, like even 4-2 here for G2, I wouldn't count out Rogue.
It's hard, right? Because a few seconds ago when it was 2-1, we were saying, oh, surely Rogue take this round. It's 2-2, like they're in a spot where it's them all versus Citizen by themselves, and it should be easy enough. As it balls out, absolutely not the case. And that last round, a prime story of it. Doesn't matter if someone clutches the previous round, Rogue can still swing things back. So I think how things have shaped up so far is generally I'd say that Rogue have actually been getting quite a bit of leverage out of this roam play. I thought for the longest time that G2, with the competitions they were bringing, would really have that under lock and hammer, and there was just no way we would see Rogue able to execute their game plan. But G2 have got a bit sloppy in the last 2 or 3 rounds, I'd say. They have let Rogue play this game, and despite an excellent clutch from the side of Citizen, I still don't feel that it's not as controlling as what you would expect as a team that is constantly at the upper echelons of play, competing into most of the quarterfinals and semifinals, all the other kind of good stuff that you see taking place around the world. It's not super, but it's also not the worst case for them either. We'll see how round number 6 concludes, though. If Rogue can take this round, I think that would be very good for them. If they lose it, 4-2 on the defensive half of Villa, I'm not so sold by it.
Stat bomb site here for Rogue here, and G2 looking to form up around. Haven't really made a lot of change in their operator lineup. Uno's dance between a couple, the Maverick, the Durkibby, but sitting on the Capitao at the moment. Watch me, Des, not gonna lie. Can't really see anything in the game right now. My feed is no, not great. So
hey, what can I say? Look, Virtue's not having a good time, and it's rubbing off on you is the best way I'll describe it, right? Citizen's going to find Leon to open the scoring up this round. So by pushing in downstairs, they have managed to deal with the more aggressive side of things here and have at least managed to contest on and catch out on towards Leon. So I like that they're starting to mobilize here and look to shut down what's coming in on the other side. Now they need to try and find out where Aces is. And I think so far with him playing downstairs as well, or at least on the red stairs, they are in a spot to be able to contest that somewhat. So time will tell. We'll see if he can achieve anything from this position, as we've seen him being quite a couple of times. But Kanto has joined Citizen on this downstairs, got himself into a spot where they can start opening up this master wall from below. It's a good control so far from G2. It's more of what I expected to see, more being focused around the controlling side of things. 3-2, as said, 90 seconds left in this round. Let's see how much more they can turn around and achieve. Corey's finding himself at the back near Astro, so there is some tendency, some taste, some ideal ability to try and cause some disruption to the side of G2, who are so far playing on the downstairs. But the way it sits, well, not really managed to find much just yet outside of Leon going down earlier on in the round. It's been one of the more peaceful rounds. Now, I am told I'm slightly solo for a second, as Dev has gone to try and make sure that he can actually watch the game. We'll find out if he joins us again in just a few seconds. G2 have got themselves upstairs now, and now that they've dealt with the electrification coming in onto this master wall, should be in a spot to start looking to go for an execute onto site. They have the tools to do so. They've got the Capitao with all of his utilities still sat in a prime position to make something happen. They've got the smokes coming out of the Jackal. They've got an endless number of flashes to burn through these ADSs if they need them, and you can see them now slowly getting themselves in position, ready for this assault. Rogue are holding fast towards the west and setting themselves in a, dare I say, comfortable spot here. They're not looking to contest too soon. I imagine a lot of this is going to be inspired by the last second execution. G2. One smoke comes out, it's turn fire by the other side. 2 kills all the way of G2. It's a 5 versus 2. The doors, everything has been smoked out. Not that it matters because Kanto has done it again. It's a flawless round for the side of G2. How on earth do you stop these kids from doing this time after time? We've seen Rogue flawless rounds. We've seen clutches from the other side. We've just seen a flawless round by G2. That came down to almost flawless execution. Getting downstairs, getting the vertical work done earlier on, making sure they cleaned up those who were trying to roam downstairs, in which case it was just Leon by himself. I think Ace has got cold feet, and maybe Corey as well trying to push down Astro stairs. Got himself a little bit caught out on the backside and didn't want to see himself being contested blindly around a corner. So fair play by trying to be defensive, but the execute from G2 was just all too comfortable. No one there to try and disrupt them or upset them, and we saw exactly how things played out. We now get to switch halves, and we'll see how things change up here. We'll see what the stance coming out of the other side is. G2 going for a very controlling setup so far on their attacks. Here on the defensive side, it may come down to being very disruption-based. We're seeing the castles trying to bring out the utility from the other side. And I guess the question mark you look at is, are we going to see similar to what we saw between BDS and Vitality? Earlier on, we saw Shaiko pretty much being at the door every single time Vitality wanted to get inside the map. What were they doing? Bringing down the Ash and bringing down the Zofia. They were removing this air quote safe ranged rotate or utility destroying gadgets and making sure there was no possibility of being able to remove things like the Evil Eyes or other cameras spaced around the map. Nice replay on screen for you there, just so you can see how flawless this came through. It was the Kanto rotate coming across 90, looking in towards site, that made that far too easy for them. A very big setup coming in here into Master. You can see Virtue's playing inside a closet as well, and that whole wall has been opened up in towards the bathroom. So this is them screaming, we know what's coming, we know there's going to be a Master push, and we want to make sure we're trying to contest that. Elsewhere, you've got Kanto doing a bit of work, making sure there are castle barricades down, and Citizen, well, just like his trusty compatriot in Leon, he's probably going to go on a roam as well and try and cause some trouble. His whole goal here is to try and waste some time. It's currently set at the point where they've got to try and take over study, so they know they've got to deal with what's going in on the south side. Let's find out what happens, and we'll see how things set up. I am told, believe it or not, that Hap is going to be joining me. Hello, good sir. Yeah. Trusty old Hap to save the day on low ping. Talk to each other in real time.
Yeah, I'm putting for the forefront here. That match of the day right here to go in, but... Well, I saw some hefty plays to come through, and we're starting straight off with the Ungets being taken down right here by Kanto, who gets traded instead. It's a big trade fest so far, it looks like, isn't it, Des?
It has been a trade fest. It has been a round trade fest, not even just in this round. We've seen flawless rounds on both sides, constant 1vx's coming out of all sides. It is absolutely crazy, and the kind of thing you expected to see when these two teams locked heads together and really went to it. 2 minutes in, though, we have finally seen the side of Rogue get control of the south side of the map. You can see Corey looking to play on Wolf window here on the Iana. In case you're wondering why you see Iana so much, we did see her in the first couple of rounds of coastline between BDS and Vitality. It is basically a free drone. Later in the round, when most of the drones are down or are sat playing flank watch, you have the capability to make use of these and cause quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, definitely so. 4-2 current scoreline. We just have this swap going over. Rogue is 1 man down. Kento, well, has been down as well. Can the rest of G2 will carry this one home? Or are we going to see another amazing play come down from one of these players? Is it going to be Corey? Is it going to be Ripster? Is it going to be Kurzeka? Who can tell at this point? Because stuff just keeps on happening here, doesn't it?
It's so risky. They've abandoned the whole south push. They've been spending the last 90 seconds getting prepped and now starting looking towards him. Master, and you know in a spot here where he can cause so much damage if they haven't put any drones in here, if they don't know that he's in this spot. And looking on the side of Rogue, they only have a couple of drones left on side. He could be a massive spoiler for them if they aren't careful. So let's keep a close eye on him and what impact he looks to make as we see them try and push it towards Master. They haven't droned him out. They do not know he's there. They even had an Iana on side and still didn't know. It's a free kill coming through. Rogue are down to 2 left alive. G2 with 4. Let's just pray for the side of G2 there isn't a massive push coming through from the other side. Rips will find 1. Pengu trades it back the other way. It's a 1 versus 3. What more are you really asking from the side of Kurzeka here? 1 kill to his name so far in this game. 5 deaths. I think it's pretty fair to say how we don't expect miracles to be worked here.
No, definitely don't expect miracles to be worked right here. It's Kurzeka, the last man standing, to go up against the tree of G2 with 10 seconds on the clock. The diffuser is down. Smoke Ennis is now being popped. The only choice he has is to actually go for the frags in these last couple of seconds, but I doubt that's going to be happening. It's looking like G2 is going to be pulling in the 5th round, as indeed they do. The timer runs out, and they will be winning it.
I believe we're now doing the magical trade, I believe it's called. This is where the down unders return. Thank you very much, Hap, for your help. You have been a great assistance. And this is why having such a wonderfully flexible team enables us to do all these incredible things. Dev, has your internet stopped having a paddy about Virtue not doing so well?
Look, I'm sure that the Australian internet will get over it eventually. Cheers, Hap, for jumping in there, and cheers, Desertu. You're an absolute soldier, just smashing on through that one. And man, I wish I could have seen the last few rounds, but looking at it from here, I mean, G2 5-2 up. It looks like Rogue do have an opportunity here, but G2 seem to be quite a look in ahead. Like, if you're looking over the past few rounds, what is the thing that G2 have that Rogue just don't seem to be able to deal with?
Well, I think the most difficult thing was the one round it came down to when G2 had a flawless round on an execute. They took over Master Bedroom. Rogue sat quite far back. They tried to have Leon on the roam, but he was collected very easily by the side of G2, who changed their tack and said, you know, rather than ignoring what's going on downstairs, let's send 2 members downstairs. Let's them go and get Leon and remove him from the field, and they did just that. And that flawless round has really kind of inspired them onwards. It looks like that last round on the defensive piece, Rogue spending 90 seconds trying to take study, abandoning it entirely, and then moving over to attack Master probably isn't the best, almost optimal use of time, should we say. Just like we said back in round 2 or 3. This team hasn't had a whole lot of time together. EOC was their first competition. Looking at the side of G2 has had a little bit longer to gel, so let's not sing the absolute death knell here for the side of Rogue, but it is looking very, very uncomfortable, and G2 absolutely in a commanding position.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
Just having a look at the kill distribution as well. I know we don't like to weigh too much on it, but Kojeko has really been struggling. He's been playing those support positions, so you don't expect him to necessarily be fragging out, but still just sitting on that one so far. Got to be feeling tough, especially, and I mean, as far as I'm aware, Kajeka obviously used to speak and play in Russian, and being on Team Empire, of course, and then transitioning onto an English-speaking team. I mean, that's quite a significant difference, and no doubt that affects everything you do, your confidence, your reaction time, instead of just immediately seeing something and your brain just saying it in your native language, having to transition here. I mean, that's got to surely affect how Kajeka has been feeling here on Rogue.
But it's like you try and hear me trying to remember call-outs in rank sometimes. It is painful. It's very, very different to cast in the game, I'll tell you that much. 60 seconds in, though, or 50 seconds in. Clearly, I can't count either. That's another problem that I seem to endure. With 50 seconds in, we found ourselves in a spot where no one has died just yet. So Leon has not managed to find anyone roaming on the downstairs. Kanto's the guy you're looking at here as the big fragger on the team in this game. Made himself more than known multiple times over. Holding around towards the top floor here, just trying to extend up towards the north and catch out these members of Rogue as they try and go aggressive, or more than happily going to take over some drones as well. The biggest issue he faces now is if someone has pushed on the downstairs, he risks being pincered. So Rogue can afford to take their time. They still have utility with things like the Capital. But looking at their drones, they've only got 4 left alive 90 seconds into the round. G2 have done a brilliant job of cleaning these up, and they'll find yet another, not just a drone, but also a player. Down goes the Capital.
Unbelievable that Kanto was able to punish Leon from that position when Rogue were no doubt aware of it, and the Capital was the perfect operator to counter that position. The firebolts. Now, well, Rogue are really running from behind. A C4 for Uno. Kanto finds his umpteenth kill. 12 to his name. Styling on Rogue right now. Rips and Corey, what he's got to show for us. Clearly not that much. Uno's on for the roam, and G2 cannot be contained. Rogue just barely scraping through for mere seconds, a whole minute to go, but it looks like G2 don't need that. A flawless round to spearhead them onto match point.
A bit DJ Khaled there. Another flawless round coming through. Another one, dare we say. It's just looking absolutely terrifying from the side of G2, where even on the roam, they're able to shut down the side of Rogue and not give them even an ounce of breathing space towards the site. They're not even letting them get on the site. It's just looking prolific on the defense. And we look back in that first half and did see some flashes of brilliance coming out the side of the Rogue. We could have argued it could have ended 3-3 if not for an incredible Citizen clutch. But you might argue the same thing on one of the earlier rounds when Aces managed to find that 2K with a pistol. So with how things have shaped up so far, G2 definitely looking like the stronger team on the day. And now they find themselves one round away from closing this out at 7-2. We've had some ridiculously quick games today, right? We've had 7-1, 6-6, 7-1. It's looking like 7-2, and now the players are just saying, look, we want to put on a show. Let's get it done so we can relax and breathe a little bit afterwards.
And you want to talk about Rogue for a minute and that clutch from Citizen, how that would have affected Rogue's mental state. Historically, Rogue have been a team that have been in my eyes, significantly affected by the sway of the matches. They're a team that can get emotional when they're at a deficit. And I feel like there's no better example of that than at the Six Invitational itself. Yet another LAN performance that was a disappointment. Derry, we were there. And you remember everyone talking about how Rogue left after group stages, absolutely tilted off their planet. Rogue was this team that the losses always get to them, and it seems to be the same here. Every time G2 have just an ounce or even the tiniest teaspoon of success, Rogue just, it seems to get to them. And this is meant to be a superstar team full of superstar players, but this definitely hasn't been a superstar performance so far.
It absolutely hasn't. And I think that should be the summary that the Rainbow Six EU account takes on Twitter and just tweets it. Superstar players, superstar team, but not a superstar performance. It's probably the best way I can describe it so far. But let's not forget they are coming up against superstars in their own right on the other side in G2. Right now, they're looking to play around this intel they've got coming out of Virtue with the cardiac sensor. We've already seen this being used by BDS to such great effect on Coastline earlier on. Had all the intel they needed for players like Shaiko, for Playday to run off and have an absolute field day, charging around and picking up these lone stragglers or those that maybe weren't drawing in the corners in quite the right way. May yet turn out to be the same case here. I'm looking at the 3 C4s on the side of G2, and after how much C4 play we've seen already today, I'm quite excited about the prospects of us finding a couple more in this round to really close things out with an explosive end.
You know what's hyping me, Derry, is the amount of variety we're seeing in operator selection. Yes, we have some of the staples. Oh, Rips is going to be counting as lucky stars after that one. But we see a couple of cheeky picks thrown in there. You got the Nook, you've got things like the Oryx from Canso, and C4 game has been just crazy so far. So many C4s flip back and forth, some hit their targets, some don't. But the amount of diversity that we're seeing in playstyles. Wait, how many C4s do this team have? 3 C4s,
they have 3.
All 3 thrown
They've now
out.
used all 3, and they haven't found a single kill. Unlucky, I guess.
That said, he's taking a low HP. Neon's taken off the board thanks to Pengu with the SMG-11. And prolific with the gun. But what do Rogue have to show? That Nook taken out, that surprise element is no more. But this vertical play established nice and good. But G2, once again, Pengu peak styling on Rogue right now. A minute left, and in a 3 versus 5, staring down match point. I just don't see this happening for Rogue.
Now, on the day itself, it does look like Rogue aren't quite the team that maybe we saw back at the EOC. It's week number 1, let's not forget, but as we said, for so many teams already today, there are only 5 weeks of play. There are 2 play days per week. You can't afford to have a bad week, because a bad week may well see you careering out of the top 4 and not qualifying for the major. Obviously, in this case, there is no major. It's more of a mini major, as we're starting to call it. But you still want to be in one of those top 4 spots to maximize those points you're getting towards SI 2021. Uno's going to find a kill again onto Corey, and this time it's a 5 versus 2. So, on the side of Rogue, there is an awful lot to do. You do have Rips left alive alongside Aces here. There is the possibility, but Kanto goes, ha ha, what possibility, my friend, as he's gone down as well. It's Rips all by himself, 2 frag grenades on side, and despite the vertical play coming through, despite feeling in control, things are looking incredibly lost for them right now. It's a 4 versus 1. They're contesting the vertical angle. Rips is going to find his second, but can he turn around and find another? There's one way to round the corner. No, they shall not. G2 are going to start off the season in dominant fashion, and Rogue have got a bit of work to do before Wednesday.
G2 did not let up through that entire series, and that's not something you see every day. And Oryx at the MVP. G2 to step it up in their first match of the EOC over last season's European champions. G2 have got to be happy about that one, through and through. A well-deserved victory.
It is, and again, the number of rounds we can harp back to in that and just say, you know, Rogue didn't come into this not be wanting to put up a fight. It wasn't like they've been dumpstered over 7 rounds in a row, for example. They did have some rounds which you might argue they deserve to win, and others arguably that maybe they shouldn't have won and G2 should have taken instead. So I think all things balance out in the end. But what we saw from G2, the 1 round that you missed, I'm so sorry that your internet had a little paddy fit. The 1 round you missed was an absolute masterclass coming out of G2. We didn't see the same kind of dilly-dallying we saw coming out of the side of Rogue, where they were torn between, do we push Study? Do we push Master? We're not quite sure. Let's go and take Master with the 60 seconds left and no drones. You know what I mean? It was just coordination to the absolute nth degree from G2, and that's the kind of performance you want to see from a team like this.
But I want to talk about Rogue for a minute. There's so much hype going into these super teams, if you will. G2, I guess, was the OG super team, picking up 2-star players from 2 world-class teams onto their already star-studded roster. And then you've got Vitality with the crazy big pickups they've had. Rogue as well with Leon on Karzeka. Like, what is the problem? Because it seems that it doesn't matter how many star players you add to that roster. There is that ever lingering issue for Rogue, that curse that has been with them for every LAN and now seems to pervasive with them online as well.
I really hope to God it doesn't carry on online. We've seen these guys be ridiculously dominant. Again, let's not forget, they haven't been together all that long. There is still time for a lot of these teams to gel. A lot of them have made new pickups or changes to the lineups. We aren't going to see absolute perfection from day one, but this is why it's a league format. It's why there is time, and why, of course, we'll have multiple stages throughout this year. I guess the big question for me is off the back of this one, knowing other teams that wait for them. We've seen BDS come out and shock the world with their performance today, looking incredibly dominant, is if it takes you too long to warm up onto things, when it comes to Wednesday and you're potentially against a big team, what are you going to do? Suddenly you're staring down the barrel of 0-2, despite being a top 1 to 3 team in this division. It's going to be ridiculously tough. But that is the end of everything from us. I believe me and Dev has filled enough for you to sing your heart out. But I know someone who does want to sing their heart out. It's Milosh and the girls on the desk. Let's go over to them.
Des, you don't want to hear any of us singing. I can tell you that much. Dev Marta is definitely the one that is more of a professional when it comes to it. I'm sure he sings all the time. It's beautiful. That said, yes, fantastic game, but for very different reasons that we saw before. I want to start off with one thing about Rogue. Their nitro cell placement was so good. It's like they're preparing everything so perfectly. Just is this coming off of just information that they're getting during the game, but or is it also a bit more of your general game knowledge and sense?
I mean, the big C4 players there were guys like Aces, Leon Gids, for example. I mean, we've seen Aces play a little bit more flex. So I'm hoping that the C4s were out of game sense. I'm just not going to say they're throwing them up there and hoping for the best. But overall, I think we're expecting
Jess,
that players.
You are currently muted, by the way, Jess. It happens. I'm sure you were talking trash.
Could have heard me. I just don't think you could hear me. But everyone else on stream probably very much heard me. So I'll keep up with my analysis, and we'll pretend like you guys heard all of the rest of that.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, you were completely right. I'm not even going to question it. So
yeah, just
if it was Des talking, out of question every single word.
Look, to finish off that point, of which I'm sure the stream heard, but none of you guys heard, we expect guys like Aces and Leon Gids to have a strong gunning ability. Their fragging ability has been tested time and time again and come out on top, but their game sense had to have been paired along with those really perfect C4s. Villa's a big map. C4s can go wary, left, right, and center, but they will almost smack on every time with them. So I think that's really goes to show that they had teammates who were giving them a lot of intel, and they were using that effectively.
And, G2 were on fire this entire game, specifically Kanto. Even he will come out and say, I'm washed up. Nah, man, you're not. This was amazing play.
No, he's definitely not. The fact that there were 4 flawless rounds in a row, one of which was from Rogue, but one of them was also that fantastic ace from Kantaraketi, and being able to see something like that consistently come out of the team. Obviously, there was only one round with the ace, but so many of the rounds that they won came from him getting these clutch gunfights, him just lighting up the kill feed all on his own. I think that was incredibly impressive, and it just says a lot about the fact that G2 still do have this firepower behind them that maybe some people wondered wasn't there any longer, or was going to be contested by these other teams such as Rogue.
I want to preface this last question here with one thing. This is still Playday number 1. There's 8 more matches that each one of these 2 teams will be playing. So keep that in mind. It's the first day. But at the end of this match, Dev Marta was talking about it, super team roundup. Anything we need to look at after this game and the dust is settled?
I think a really important part to take away from this game is that back when G2 first reformed their roster, and we called them the new EU super team back then, and they came out of the gates a little bit sloppy, that's how I feel Rogue is now. They're almost repeating the G2 back then, now, just because they haven't had enough time to synergize, coordinate, and all of those things. So I think giving them the benefit of the doubt here to say, we saw some good flawless rounds. They had a flawless round of their own. Okay, most of them went to G2's side, but they showed that they were dominant in the rounds that they had won. So I think giving them the benefit of the doubt here, more time, and I think they might flourish.
Yeah, I would say I agree with that. I don't think that they look particularly weak in any way. It's just the fact that G2 looked so strong today. And as we said at the beginning, they're still synergizing, they're still meshing together, they've got time.
Yeah, much like us as well. I know. Let's take a look at our rankings for our league so far. We've gone through 4 out of the 5 matches. We're on time pretty much. G2, BDS, and Empire at 3 points pop. Chaos and Tempera at 1 point apiece as well, which leaves us with our last 2 teams playing today. Natus Vincere versus Team Secret. And that matchup, though, is right after the break. So we hope to see you then very, very soon.